All right. Moving on to a more positive note, Peyton Manning is having an all-time great season this year. 20-something touchdowns, only one interception on the season so far. Clearly the front runner for MVP right now, as far as I'm concerned. And we're going to look at Peyton Manning's legacy. We all know that he is an all-time great quarterback. Where do you think Peyton Manning ranks? If you were going to, list some names of quarterbacks that you'd probably maybe put ahead of him, maybe some behind him, where do you think Peyton Manning's right now, where his career would rank all time?
He's definitely a top 5 quarterback. I mean, that man, he is literally a walking video game, calling out everything. He knows exactly what the defenses are going to do, and then he knows exactly what to switch to. And then, his targeting, his decision making has just been phenomenal. And then his ability to get the ball there has just been out of this just video game like. He's just doing everything great. To say anything lower than great would be an insult.
I think his best asset is his play calling. I mean, you look at how well he can read defenses, and that shows when he puts up all these numbers is because he can read a blitz, he can read your coverage. He'll know what you're going to do before the defense even knows it. And when you have a quarterback that can do that, they can shred a defense because they know where people are going to go. They know how their team is supposed to be. And I just think that because of that, he's top 3 for me.
For me, I'm going to have to say top 5 at least, only because I'm purely waiting to see what happens this season. If things pan out how they've been through the first 5 weeks of this season, I'm ready to call him, 1 or 2 up there. For now, I'm going to say at least top 5 because with Peyton Manning, you can't really game plan for him because he knows what you're going to do. So it's hard to really play him in a style that you would play other teams. Like you can stack 8 in the box against a running back, 9 in the box. Other teams you can kind of play maybe a cover 2 or you can, play a prevent style where you have more people back in coverage. And make them run the ball. But with Peyton Manning, the play calling that he has is so effective on whether he's passing or running, it's tough to even just play general defense, play your game of defense because you're game planning for what he's trying to do. And his arm is so accurate. It may not be the strongest, but when you can fit it into tight windows, doggy doors, you can just about make any play. And that's what Peyton Manning can do is pinpoint accuracy is just something that any team, any defender is tough to deal with.
I want to make it clear that even before the season started, I had him in my top 3. And it's not just that his career stats are all-time great, but I'm talking the leadership that Peyton Manning has. When you're on his team and he tells you to do something, you're probably going to do it because he's probably right. And it's just amazing how he's not slipping or falling at all. He's actually getting better, especially at the advanced age that he's getting to. Most quarterbacks start to slide. It's almost time for you to retire. But Peyton Manning's getting better. And he goes to, the Broncos, and he has, Eric Decker and Demaryius Thomas, who, they're not slouches, but they weren't proven receivers that, just came out of the woodworks and he just started playing good with them. He actually was there and made those guys better, and playing with him would make anyone better. And I believe that, if you're going to be top 3 in my list, you have to be able to make players better and also be a leader. So I think Peyton Manning's been in the top 3 for me.
Well, gentlemen, I have to put Peyton Manning at number 4 all time, behind the likes of Joe Montana, Dan Marino, and Tom Brady. And here are the reasons why. Peyton Manning has great numbers, great measurables, great leadership skills, but he's only got one thing, and that's 1 Super Bowl ring. Now, Dan Marino has no Super Bowl rings. And the only reason why I put Dan Marino even ahead of Tom Brady and Peyton Manning is based on the lack of talent that Dan Marino had to work with throughout his entire career. Peyton Manning has had great receivers for the majority of his career. Not saying that he isn't a great quarterback, but Marvin Harrison, we all believe that he's going to be a Hall of Fame wide receiver. Reggie Rain's on his way to becoming a Hall of Fame wide receiver. He's got Wells Welker on his team now. Wells Welker's probably going to end up in the Hall of Fame. Demaryius Thomas, if he keeps going at the rate that he's going, he might end up in the Hall of Fame. And Peyton Manning has had an abundance of great weapons to work around. And even with all that talent, even with all those weapons, even with all his greatness, he's got one Super Bowl ring and a load of poor playoff performances to his resume. He's got, I think, 6 1-and-outs where he just gets in the playoffs, one and done, and he's out of there. I mean, I know there's at least 2 against the Chargers, the one against the Steelers, the Jets game against Mark Sanchez, which he just played horrible in that game. I mean, Peyton Manning is a great, great quarterback, and the numbers support that. But to me, that level of leadership that you get, also you have to translate into how well you perform on those big stages. I know that football is a team game, and then and it takes you got 53 players on the roster, and everybody has to do something. But it shows something when you play well in those games and you don't make those kind of mistakes, which is exactly why I have Brett Favre as my number 5 quarterback of all time, because even though Brett Favre has the numbers, he's got the MVPs just like Peyton Manning does. He also only has 1 Super Bowl, but a whole abundance of bad playoff performances to go with it. So because Peyton Manning has better stats than Brett Favre, but also the bad performances in the playoffs, I have to put him at number 4.